day, students. I'm Miss Nampala. I'm your new tutor for English 3. Welcome to English 3. I wish you all to be hardworking, dedicated and self-driven students in this course. This presentation covers the subject content in brief and some general guidelines that I want everyone to keep in mind when preparing for the 2019 examinations. I will discuss some of the content of your study guide in order to help you prepare for the coming exams. By now, you should have a good idea what the subject is about as you have completed an assignment. Please note that I cannot give attention to the whole content, so should you have any questions, please contact me for help. Use the study guide to prepare for the examination. Keep in mind you should pay attention to the exit learning outcomes in the index of the study guide. You should also pay attention to the learning outcomes in every unit of the study guide. Now, in Unit 1, you should be able to differentiate, or you should be able to explain when you should use capital letters. For example, we use capital letters at the beginning of a sentence, or we use capital letters with names of people or places. Okay, so number 2, you should differentiate between the different ways to practice spelling. For example, the reverse chaining by letter, reverse chaining by syllable, and record and practice, trace, copy, and recall. Now, if such a question arises in the examination, you should be able to explain what it means by reverse chaining by letter. What is it that a learner is supposed to do? What should a learner do when they record and practice, or when they trace, copy, and recall? All the steps to be done in any of the ways to practice spelling. Also, you should be able to explain when learners, or when we should use punctuation marks. When, for example, the commas, the full stops, the apostrophes, so you should be able to identify and also know how to use them. For example, if they ask you to give an example, you write your sentence that has punctuation mark in the correct manner in an English classroom. You should know what are antonyms. You should also be able to explain synonyms, what it means by a synonym or what it means by an antonym, and you should give an example if need be. And then we also have elements of literature, which are the figures of speech. We have imagery, we have simile, we have metaphor, alliteration, personification, onomatopoeia, and hyperbole. Now, if a question asks you, what is imagery? You should be able to explain what is imagery, and you should be able to give an example. Also, if the question asks, explain or differentiate between simile and metaphor. Simile is when you compare when you compare two things using the comparison words, for example, like or as. And metaphor is when you compare two things but you do not use the comparison words. So you should not only give me the explanation, do not only define what is similar or metaphor, you should be able to give me an example in both. Do not give me an example only on similar when you are asked to differentiate between similar and metaphor. So you should be able to give an example on similar and metaphor. For all the figures of speech, you should be able to define and give your own examples. Now, if you are given a poem, for example, that you are going to analyze, if it says identify personification from the poem, you should identify the personification, or you can tell me what is personification if you are asked to do so. So if the question is explain what is personification and identify personification from the poem, what will you do? You will explain personification and then you will identify personification from the poem. And you don't only say that there is personification in the poem. You should tell me where is the personification in the poem, and you should write that quote down, the verse down that has personification. You should write it down because I need proof that yes, this is personification as used in the poem. And then we have also homophones, prefixes and suffixes. You should be able to tell me what are homophones. You should explain what are homophones, or if a question comes to differentiate between prefixes and suffixes, you might get a word and then you should identify which one is the prefix or which one is the suffix. Or you might, they might say, or the question might ask you to come up with, to give examples of your own prefixes and suffixes. You should be able to define which one is prefix and which one is a suffix. Unit 3, we have features of an effective paragraph or a good paragraph writing. You should be able to describe or to give the features of an effective paragraph. When you are writing a paragraph, or when a learner is writing a paragraph, what are the features of a good paragraph? Because there are guidelines that you're supposed to follow, isn't it? For you to write a good paragraph, there are guidelines that you must follow. Also, the general features of a personal writing. If you are writing if you have personal writings, if you are writing something that is personal, for example, what are the features that you're supposed to look at? Let's say maybe you're writing your diary or your diary writing or anything else. What are the general features? Also, when you are writing an essay, what is it that you are supposed to know? You should be able to explain all the stages of writing an essay. For example, we have a topic. You should explain that. If the question says that explain how one can write a good essay, it should have an introduction. What should be written in the introduction? You should explain what to write in the body of the essay, and then you should also explain how to write a conclusion of an essay. Also, you should be able to differentiate between different types of essays. We have descriptive essays, we have argumentative essays, we have descriptive, we have argumentative, and we have narrative essays, and we have also factual essays. So you should be able to differentiate between the different types of essays. And we also have summary writings. So you should be able to know how to write a summary writing. If you are going to teach your learners, for example, how to write a summary, what are the steps that they are supposed to follow? There are different steps of which learners are supposed to follow when they are writing a summary. For example, they read the text through, they reread, and they paraphrase. They do not, you do not include examples when you are writing your own summary, and there is always a number of words that you're supposed to have when you're writing a summary. You should only include the important points, so you should be able to explain all these things. If a question says, how should you write, what are the techniques of writing a summary? Number 2, we have citing a magazine article adequately. How you should be able to give the steps on how to cite a magazine in the right way. You don't just cite, there are ways that you're supposed to cite, isn't it? So how do you cite a magazine article in the right way? And then number 3, we have a lesson plan, which is called lesson preparation. When you're coming up with your lesson preparation, make sure that you have your syllabus at hand. Now, with the examination, you are not going to be allowed to go in with the syllabus, isn't it? So what you should do is, when you are studying for the exam, also study in your study guide and also study your syllabus. because this is where most of the things come from in the syllabus. For example, we have the lesson, we have the competencies and the objectives. Now we have different stages when we are presenting a lesson plan, isn't it? Now when we are writing your lesson plan, there are different stages. We have the theme, we have the topic, we have the syllabus objectives, and we have the basic competencies and the monitoring of homework. Now what do we include in all these stages? The first one, we have the theme. The theme is provided. Where do you get the theme? The theme is provided for you in the syllabus under the cross-curricular issue. We have issues like HIV and AIDS, information communication technology, population education, or we have sports. We have all these issues are already provided for you. All these things that you are, all the topics that you write under theme are in the syllabus. Do not come up with your own themes, and also do not write there speaking. If the learners are going to be speaking in the classroom, don't write the speaking, or don't write the test writing, or don't write the reading passage. That is not the right word. Those are not the right themes. And then we have topic. Where will you get the topic? The topic is derived from your theme. So let's say that your theme is ICT, for example, and the passage, maybe the learners are going to read a passage on computers, or they are going to listen to an audio on computers. So what will your topic be? Your topic is going to be, let's say maybe they are looking at the advantages and disadvantages of computer. Your topic will be advantages and disadvantages of computers. So in other words, your topic is derived from the theme, and also the topics are also already provided for you in your syllabus. So the syllabus is a very important tool for you to have as a teacher. And then we have syllabus objectives and basic competencies. All these objectives and competencies come from your syllabus as well. So you should know exactly what is in your syllabus, read through your syllabus, and understand your syllabus, because it's the guiding tool for you when you become a teacher. And then we have the basic competencies. We have different competencies from the syllabus. You might have 5 competencies under the topic that you are teaching that day. However, you cannot write all the 5 basic competencies. You should choose one, the one that is suitable for your lesson that day, the one that you are going to master in that lesson, because obviously you cannot master all the competencies. You cannot master 5 competencies in one lesson. So the very one competency that you are going to master in that lesson is the one that you should copy down in your lesson plan. And then we have monitoring of homework. What does this mean? This means that you have probably given homework the previous day, isn't it? So if you have given homework the previous day or the previous days, if you have marked that homework, you give feedback to the learners regarding that homework. You give the homework back, or if it's a test, you give the test back. You give a revision. You make corrections with the learners before you move on to the next lesson, which is the lesson you're going to cover that day. Now we have, before that, we also have the lesson presentation. What does it mean by lesson presentation? The lesson presentation is the overall plan of your lesson. For example, this is where you include if the learners are going to sit in groups, or they are going to do their work individually, or they are going to do the work in pairs. What is it? You explain, or you tell the learners what to do, what they are going to do in the lesson presentation. If it's an activity, are they doing it one by one, or are they doing it on their own, or are you going to help them, or what is really going to go on. So in overall, you are going to explain how the lesson is going to go about. And then we have the presentation of subject matter. This is now where you present your lesson, isn't it? This is where you present your subject content. Now you include the activities of the learners. What are the learners doing? Are they listening to the teacher? Are they going to listen to a teacher when the teacher is reading a passage? Or are they going to read aloud in the whole classroom? Or are they going to read silently? Or is there somebody that is there a learner that is going to stand up and read for the whole class? This is where you give all the activities and what the learners are supposed to do. Are they going to listen to an audio and answer the questions? You should include all the activities to be done in the class by the teacher and by the learners. I've already spoken about the themes and the objectives. And then we have the consolidation stage. What does it mean by consolidation? Consolidation means that after you are done after you are done teaching, or after giving instructions and doing whatever it is that you are doing when you are presenting your lesson, you emphasize on the important points of what was taught. For example, if you were teaching about reading, you emphasize on the most important ways on how to read, or how to make sure you understand the words in the passage. You emphasize on the most important points of what you have already taught. You summarize your lesson, and what you should do is, what is it that you want your learners to remember about the lesson? What are the most important points that your learners should know? And then we have the assessment and the homework task. Now this assessment, how does it differ from the homework of the previous day? This homework or the assessment is the one that the learners are gonna do on the lesson that you just presented. And the difference with the other one is, we said that the other one is the previous day homework, isn't it? It's not the same as this one. So after you have taught your lesson, you have to assess. Now how are you going to assess? It is you are going to assess either this should be done individually, so that you just know where you stand with a certain learner. So you can either give a test, you can either give a class activity. It's up to the teacher to decide what they are going to do. So this assessment will help you. It will help you as a teacher to know if you have mastered your basic competencies, if you have done a good job, or if you have not done anything at all. So this is called assessment, where you give homework, or you give a class activity or a test. And then we have English across the curriculum. Now this part is the most difficult one. I don't know why, but what should you write at this part? So you ask yourself, how did you include other subject knowledge in your lesson? We have learners of different subjects, isn't it? They have social studies, they have environmental studies, they have computer studies, they have natural science. So in that lesson that you have given, that you are presenting, did you include any other subject knowledge from other did you include any other subject knowledge from other subjects? For example, like I gave an example earlier that let's say your task, the passage that you gave to your learners, the text is on ICT. It's on ICT, isn't it? And it was about the advantages or disadvantages of computers. So for me, like that, I've included subjects from other I've included content from other subjects, which is what? Which is computer studies, because computer studies is the one that deals with ICT, isn't it? It's the one that deals with computers. So already as an English teacher, you should be able to use content from other subjects in your English class. And then we have reflection. What do we do? What does it mean by reflection? So the reflection part is done after the lesson is delivered. So you ask yourself, were the objectives met? Did the learners gain the skills that I wanted them to gain? Are the objectives, did you reach your objectives? So how will you know if your learners have mastered what you wanted them to master? You have to complete, they have, after you have taught, you give assessment, isn't it? And you mark the assessment. So when you mark these activities, that will determine you if you have done a great job, if you have not done a great job. So if the learners have passed, that means you have done a great job. And if they didn't pass, if many of them got zeros out of 20, for example, it means you haven't taught the way that you're supposed to teach, and your basic competencies are not met. So no skill was transferred to the learners. So you have to sit down and ask yourself all these questions, looking at the assessment. So if it was bad, you have to have another strategy. You have to decide that you're going to teach the lesson, but you're going to teach it in a different way, not the same way, because again the results are going to be poor. So this is all about the lesson plan. Take note of the lesson plan. It is very important because it has a lot of marks when it comes to examination. So in conclusion, please don't try to memorize everything. Also, you should read instructions carefully. Your answers must be complete, meaning if you are writing a sentence, it should start with a capital letter and end with a full stop. And don't memorize things the way they are in your study guide. Use your own mind. The study guide is just there to help you, but use your own ideas and use your own examples. Also read instructions carefully. Make sure you understand what the instructions are saying. If the instruction is saying circle, you should circle. If the instruction says tick, you tick. If it says cross, you should cross. Do not do otherwise if you are not told to do it. You should write as neatly as possible. Also use your own example like I said before. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to call me. My cell phone number is 081 610 9072. Good luck with your exams.